want you to listen to this, Jay. Let's listen to this and dissect, because I got some questions, man. I got questions, and there needs to be answers, man. Let's listen to this.
Our defense ball, great game, start to finish. We have to be better. I have to be better first and foremost. I have to be a lot better. So we have to be better. It's frustrating. It's very frustrating. And that's not me. That's not just me. That's everyone. We're competitors. Losing is frustrating. Being frustrated, however you feel, it's not gonna win you a game. It's not gonna help. You have to turn that and use that in action throughout the week, and then we have to translate it to Sunday or Thursday tonight, whatever. We have to translate it. We care. We work hard. I'm grateful to be playing with the guys that I am. We work hard. We're throughout the week. We look good. We execute. We push. But we got to find a way to make that translate again, especially offensively. First and foremost, myself. I have to be better. And as a unit, we can't put out. We can't have performances like that. We can't. We're better than that. We can't put that on film. So yeah, it's very frustrating. But ultimately, again, frustrated or not, it's not going to help you next week. So we got to be able to use that, turn it into something, channel it, and find a way.
So that was Bryce Young, his post-game press conference interview following that loss, to where you watch that game, hard for me to tell which player was the number 1 overall pick, to be honest with you. Like, which guy, if you would have said which one was the number 1 overall pick, I think if it were a casual fan that knew nothing about football, they probably would have said Tyson Bagent, right? And my question to you is not whether his dynasty value is this or that, but do we give Bryce Young a pass because he's a likable guy? Because he feels like, you know what I mean? He feel like real talk. Like, no, it's not. Like, do we give him a pass because I haven't met a soul who says they don't like Bryce Young. There's a lot of people who say they hate Mac Jones. They don't like Deshaun Watson. I can't stand Dak Prescott for whatever reason it is, right? For whatever narrative, internal feeling that you have, people don't like certain players. I haven't heard anybody say that they dislike Bryce Young, right? They dislike his persona. Everybody says he's a great kid, hard worker. I understand that you watch the Carolina Panthers, and I legitimately talked about this on Wednesday. I said, wait until Thursday, watch how non-creative the offense is, how poorly schemed the offensive weapons are. And you look at league average wide receiver separation, and you see Adam Thielen below that, Jonathan Mingo full yard below league average separation. Like, they don't have good weapons, but when you trade Jalen Carter, the 101 next year, a second round pick, DJ Moore, literally that was the trade. They gave up DJ Moore, Jalen Carter, the 101 next year, and a second round pick for this quarterback at 101. I kind of don't want to hear all of that, man. Like, I want to see, even if they're not winning, I want to see 250 yards. I want to see flashes of, oh my goodness, it looks bad now, but just wait until they get T. Higgins, until they draft Troy Franklin, until they get some upgrades at the outside skill position players. I'm watching this, and it feels like the whole thing just needs to be rebooted, man. Like, you watch this, and it ain't just Frank Wright. Frank Wright's not helping at all. It's not just Bryce Young, but Bryce Young's not doing his part either. It's not just the receivers, but the receivers aren't doing their part. The whole thing from top to bottom feels very bad, Jay. And we say this a lot, that a lot more players are ruined in the NFL than they are developed. And this is a player who had a limited skill set coming in. There's no doubt, everybody knew from the moment he was drafted, he didn't have the arm of an Anthony Richardson. He didn't have the arm strength of a Will Levis. He didn't have the prototypical size of C.J. Stroud. But we liked him, and we thought that magic could translate, and he could be a guy that can help elevate an offense. And right now, he feels like he's not only not elevating the offense, I don't want to say he's pulling it back, but he damn sure ain't elevating it. What are your thoughts on just how this situation gets better? You've got David Tepper, who seems to be an incompetent type of owner. I mean,
and fired his soccer team's coach as well, right? Soccer team's
coach who went to the playoffs, right? Who went to the playoffs. How does this get better? Screw fantasy football for a minute. How does it get better for him in Carolina? Because what I saw last night, it doesn't look like there's much hope at all, man.
So talking about Bryce Young and his character and kind of, do we give him a pass? I would say a little bit, but I also believe, that in the NFL, that happens pretty routinely. Good people who, have good character and show that kind of week in and week out do get the benefit of the doubt sometimes, maybe to the fault of the media, but that's something that's always kind of been in Bryce's favor, for better or worse. And I think, to your point, that's probably not going to change. Are we giving him a pass a little bit? Sometimes I don't know. So I feel like he is pretty heavily scrutinized, even though his team is bad and his offensive coach is bad. And, Frank Reich gives up the play calling duties. Thomas Brown has him now. What changed? I mean, it's been a couple weeks. They had the bye week. Nothing's really changed. It still looks just as bad as before. So you talk about what's next for Carolina. You called me last week before I did my show Bleacher Report, and you think there could be a change in Carolina at coach.
Absolutely.
And the more this plays out, if it was revealed that, Frank Reich had any inclination to take Bryce Young at number one, then I think he deserves to be fired, because that's you putting your stamp on a guy after you gave up all this capital. You talk about the situation getting better. It's not going to. I mean, what are you going to draft Jonathan Mingo again in the second round? We already saw that play out, how bad of a pick that was. So you look at what happened with Bryce, and I think the biggest thing that sticks into my mind, Ray, is Bryce Young is not a number one overall pick.
Correct.
Right? And you talked about this a ton, and you just hit on it. He doesn't have these traits, this skill set, this tantalizing upside that tells you this guy deserves to be number one. If it was Anthony Richardson number one, we'd say he's raw. He still has tons of potential, but he showed flashes. CJ Stroud, obviously, rookie of the year, no question, number one quarterback in his draft class, not even close. But even when you compare him to Will Levis has already showed some throws and talent on the field that we haven't seen from Bryce Young in his limited action already in the NFL. And that's the biggest problem for Bryce, is he is not a number one overall pick. And I think, I was talking to my buddy about this yesterday. Is he kind of where Tua was early in his career? Now, Tua was dealing with injuries. He was really struggling on the field, but the pressure that Tua didn't have, he was not the number one overall pick, but he was heavily scrutinized because Justin Herbert looked way better than him and won Rookie of the Year. And so when you look at that aspect of it, do you think that there's a world where down the line, Bryce is a fine quarterback in the NFL, but not what he was drafted to be, and it's simply a little bit because he was not ever and probably never should have been the first overall pick, and it probably should have been an Anthony Richardson or a CJ Stroud because they have the more prototypical tools that could be a high ceiling quarterback in the NFL?
Listen. Yes, that is very true, Jay. But if we're being honest and we go back to that time period, I mean, anybody who was talking about it was, oh yeah, take Bryce Young number one. Oh, Bryce Young number one.
It's true. Yeah.
The revisionist history, it's easy to say that now, but we kind of knew those things going in. Bryce Young is a trailer, in my opinion, but I think he could be a very good high-end type of trailer, which you could win, and that's fine. They need some help. When your leading rusher at 23 yards on the ground, Chuba Hubbard stinks, Miles Sanders stinks. Adam Thielen loved the revitalization, the rejuvenation of his career, but he's a 33-year-old receiver whose game was never predicated really on speed and his quick twitch muscle fibers. I mean, he's 33 years old. Mingo's raw. This is a bad situation. Here's what I'll caution Dynasty gamers on. And I understand, like my co-host Scott said, I'd sell at 70% what I bought him for today. I'll get out 60%. I'm not going to argue that. If that's what you want to do, I don't think that's fine.
Yeah.
But we have seen, I just caution people just to throw quarterbacks away after their first season. I mean, people were saying the same things about Trevor Lawrence, and we can get into him and whether he really deserves to be valued as a top 5 quarterback or not. But the reality was, outside of that Urban Meyer situation, he improved leaps and bounds in year 2. There were a lot of people who were very nervous about Jalen Hurts in his start of his career, when he started those final 4 games his rookie season. Even after his first full season starting, people a little, I don't know about Hurts. So from what I've heard about him is he's got the mental makeup to work and try, right? He cares. He gives a damn. He's going to do everything he can to improve over the offseason. They got to find him some help. I see some people in the chat saying T. Higgins, Brandon Ayuk. He's got to find some help. Somebody that can win quickly off the line. They had a guy. He was on the other side of the field last night. DJ Moore is gone. They need a running. There is no running game. Think about this. You have no running game, no threats on the outside, no damn tight end. Easy defensive assignment for me. This is a walk in the goddamn park. Sign me up for this assignment. All I got to do is get hands up around a 5'9", 190-pound quarterback. I could single up the outside, and I don't have to load. And I don't have to load the box because they got stank running backs. It's a very easy offense to defend. You wouldn't want to play with this team on Madden, let alone play them or play with them in the actual NFL. It's not good for Bryce Young right now. It's not good for Young right now. But I just caution folks that the game of football is not just a very smooth elevator ride up, right? Escalator to the top. I mean, there's leaps and bounds, there's trials and tribulations, and it would be interesting to see who would thrive in this type of situation. Bryce Young deserves some blame. He is absolutely right. He must play better.
He hasn't shown enough, right?
That's
our takeaway, I think, is he hasn't shown enough.
But the Carolina Panthers do need to do some more to help him out.